So as of about an hour ago, the wind speed forecast for this weekend has changed. It's increased to 94 miles an hour. Now, even for wind speeds over 20 miles an hour, we get some damage, especially for the young grafts. But with 94 mile an hour winds, we can expect some substantial damage. So we have 4 days to prepare. You know, today's Tuesday. We've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and weather starts getting pretty bad on Saturday, and Sunday is going to be peak wind speeds. So today, what we're going to do is, first off, store everything that's outside in a secure location, which basically means packing it into the garage, and do what we can to protect the young grafts. As you know, I've been putting a ton of grafts onto especially the big trees, and you know, really would rather not have all that work lost. So this was the first tree that I started with. That was about a year ago, and everything on there is grafted except for the very end of this one branch. So the good news is strength in numbers. We've got a lot of branches, small branches, and when they're together, the wind tends to blow over it. But still, we need to bring that down a little bit. There's a high spot in the center of the tree where those branches are growing a little bit taller. So later on in the day, I will sort of try and decrease some of that, those leaves, you know, bring them down a little bit so there's less to blow against. You have young branches that easily rip off, and so if you can either shorten the branches and or remove parts of the leaves, then they do better in a storm. But yeah, 94 miles an hour, that does blow leaves off of mature trees, and then of course the young branches are very vulnerable. So then this tree next door here has some young grafts that need attention. You can tell a big difference between that and the tree we just looked at and here. These are very isolated branches, young isolated branches. That means there's really not much to protect them. So we need to do as much as we can to decrease the wind load of this. So this is right here. This is all new growth on this new graft here. It's doing fabulously well, but we have to do what we can to save it. So basically, you can just rip off the large parts of leaves like this when it's so tender, and this is going to help save this particular graft. He's going to be still active, but hopefully there'll be not much for the wind to blow against. So there we go on that one. This one is just starting to sprout out, so that might be fine. I'm going to take the young growth off the rootstock. It's just no reason to have that on there. Here's another graft over here, just developing new leaves. And of course, we've got to just tear them off, most of them off, so that there's not much for the wind to blow against. Here's a little shoot there sprouting out, lovely thing. I'll just trim it a little bit so that in a few days when it grows out more, it won't have anything for the storm to blow against. But also, you see this up here, this has got a lot of leaves to blow around. It could disturb that graft down there, so we just want to take that down as far as possible. This will still protect that, but we don't want it to move around too much. So, well, and I'll trim these leaves back a little bit too. Oops. So I think that that will be pretty good. Has a little bit of shade and that should still grow. Let's see what else. This is all grafted stuff. This was the first graft to take on this particular branch, or this particular variety. And yeah, I would actually like some graft wood from here, so I'll see how this goes. I'll take all the leaves off of this section, and you know, if it looks like it's still vulnerable, then I'll, you know, revisit that decision, maybe take it more leaves off. But for now, I'll take the ones off that are furthest away from the graft. This one here, I'll work a little bit more on that, but as you probably can see, this is a lot of new shoots coming out of this Hayden branch. And even with our low winds, like maybe 20 to 25 miles per hour a week or so ago, that blew this graft off. That was a weak point because we had to cut into this particular shoot to make the graft, and boom, it's gone. So we can cut that off completely, and put that in the trash. Then we have this situation where the Hayden shoot has bent, but the new graft is looking green still. That scion is still green. So it's actually, that's good news, but we don't want this to get blown around some more and knock that off. So we'll take some weight off of here and decrease the wind resistance. So, and then this one, we got, so I already cut off the top of the Hayden shoot, and you see it sprouting out. Well, we'll cut that back here and take out that bud, and then we'll cut the leaves back also. We've got another shoot down here that we're not using, and this one here, so we'll just take those off entirely so that they don't move the whole branch around. So I think that's going to be okay, but time will tell. They are getting more sun than they used to, but just gotta hope that they sprout out soon and start developing their own shade. Here's some grafts I did into very young wood. These leaves were purple when I put these grafts in. They all look like they're doing well, but I'm concerned. I did a couple of different ways. I did one with elastic and two with just the buddy tape, just to experiment a little bit. But I am concerned with the wind pulling this buddy tape ones, pushing against those and tearing off those. So what I'm going to do is get some paraffin tape that I have just a moment away and reinforce those with paraffin tape. Paraffin tape seems to be a lot thicker than the buddy tape, and so something that I am interested in using in this particular circumstance. How I like to do it is actually cut this in half. It just seems to work better for me this way. And so stretch it a little bit to get it to wrap tightly. Oops, I stretched it a little bit too much. This doesn't degrade in weather quite so quickly as buddy tape. And so do that a couple times here. Other half of that. So hopefully that's enough. I'll do this other side. I guess I'll try it with a full width. Yeah, I like to try things a little differently, modify them, see if what works a little better. And so we'll give us a little experiment here if there's any difference between these two methods. So I'll try and stretch this last bit a lot so that it adheres to the previous ones, other layers. So anyway, I'm hoping those little bandages do well for our new grafts. And the last one in this area is just starting to sprout out. So yay, that's a good thing. But I'll decrease the wind load on this. And 94 miles an hour it's a serious wind, wind force for this particular situation. Not much protection here. So anyway, I'll continue to do that on all of the grafts on this branch, and then I'll quickly show you over on this other branch what we'll do in this circumstance. So yeah, this is a similar situation where we've got a young graft that's taking, and then some sprouts out at the top. So I will take off the very tip of that and trim back the buds, trim back these leaves. And this one next door really doesn't matter. This graft was either a fail or blew off, so that one, I'll just leave it. It's not going to hurt anything as it tossles in the wind. This other one on the side looks like it's going to make it, but again, we don't want this particular branch to move around too much, so I'll cut off the end and trim these leaves. So hopefully that will be fine. But this is what I wanted to show you. We have all these young leaves, and the young leaves are particularly vulnerable. There's not any wood in these shoots yet. It's all very soft, and then the new leaves are heavier than old leaves. They're just filled with water or sap or whatever you want to say it. So anyway, I'm sort of torn as whether to cut them completely off or what, but I'll just do the safe thing now. I can always cut them off completely. I always like to keep checking the forecast because it can change. I can actually cut off the top of this one. So anyway, that will be far less wind on that. So this particular tree has probably close to 80 grafts on it. And so what I need to do today is on this tree and all the other trees that I have grafted recently onto, which is recently is basically any time since the springtime. I need to go through and check for the vulnerabilities, try and trim things back, the new shoots, take off the entire new leaves or part of the new leaves, and also to try and have the neighboring branches and stuff be as wind resistant as possible. So that's my job for the day. Tomorrow will be a whole different set of chores, but today it's try and get the young grafts in as good a shape to withstand the wind as possible, and get as much stuff put away in the garage and other storage areas as I can. So good luck to all of you, and we'll see you back here at Hurricane Prep tomorrow.